Welcome to Fearless and Flawed. Today, we're joined by Wendy Meadows, a former family law litigator turned coach, consultant, speaker, and author of Sparkle and Grit. Wendy spent years in the courtroom advocating for families before stepping into a new chapter that blends her legal expertise with her passion for helping women lead with clarity, purpose, and balance.
And I'm Serena Reynolds. I help bold leaders become the go-to experts in their space.
And I'm Sarah Ferrer, an email marketing pro here to convert clicks into cash. Together, we're two women in charge diving into the fearless, the oh so flawed, and the fabulous journeys of female founders rewriting the rules.
So let's dive in. Welcome to our show, Wendy.
Hi, thank you so much. I love being here.
So, Wendy, going from a family law litigator to a coach, consultant, speaker, and author, what was the moment you knew it was time to make this leap?
It was like many little moments, right? Many little teeny tiny moments. But the one that sticks in my head the most is I was at the point in my career where I had started this health and wellness business, like as I was a family law litigator as well. And so every morning I was plugging into women, I was breathing life into women, and it felt really good and really amazing. So I did that at 6 a.m. And then 4 or 5 hours later, I'm in court and I'm cross-examining somebody, like a wife on the stand. I had never talked to her before. I had never met with her before. I only knew her based on what her husband had told me. And there I am, like cross-examining her, going through her credit card transactions and poking at her for buying like Tory Burch shoes or something. And the look of disgust she had for me and the look of disgust I felt in my soul, like, why am I tearing down this woman for buying a $60 pair of sandals? Like, really? Really? Is this what I am meant to do and who I am meant to be? No. And that's the moment that like sticks in my mind thinking, I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow. And so what, like, just walk us through what got us to that point, because you're this in your field, right? You're a litigator. I have to imagine that took a lot of grit, resilience, climbing. And so like, just to like have that realization and then kind of move on,
Mm-hmm.
there has to be more to it of like, how did
Right.
you get here? You beat the odds. You're probably, I'm assuming that women are maybe minorities in this field to begin with. I could be wrong. You can enlighten me, but like, is it 50-50 now? So like, how did you get there? Because that is a very specific path to take to where you are now. Like, how'd you get there?
Well, it's really following the Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs, or I'll just say sparkles, throughout like the many, many years. And I became a family law lawyer kind of accidentally. I became an attorney in '05. The job market was tough, but I knew I either wanted to do family law because I was a kid of divorce and I wanted to help other kids too, or tax law just because I found it interesting. So, I'm a weirdo. And then when you become a family law attorney, again, it happens to you and it happens so fast. Like you start doing things and trying on this skin and this personality before you even know what you're doing and who you are. I mean, I was 25 at the time, right? So at 25, I guess my prefrontal cortex had finally just developed. I was finally a person. And then I learned how to be this new person. So like that just happens to you because you're not really thinking much about it at 25, right? At 25, you're thinking, I need a job. I need to make money. If you're in the lawyer world, I need to become a partner. I need trials. I need appellate work. You're just thinking of like climbing up that ladder. And that's all your focus is. You're never really asking yourself, but do I like this? And is this who I am? And do I love it? Instead, you're just going through it because that's why you go to college. It's why you go to law school. It's like, I just need to keep climbing this ladder. So that's kind of where I was for a long time. And then my journey began in 2016 when I became, like I said, a health and wellness coach on accident. I didn't mean for that to happen. It just happened. And again, it was probably a lot of little baby steps that got me there too. So when I joined that world and I saw, oh my goodness, there's a life outside of Baltimore County law. And there's a life outside of lawyers. And the life outside of that, I was meeting women who were entrepreneurial. I was meeting women who taught me like all these cool things. And it was positive. It was about building up and making us our best selves and I never heard of personal development before. So in the health and wellness industry, I learned all these things and I was like, oh, another life exists out there. And again, with like seeing the coaching from that world and lawyering in this world, I'm like, how can I merge the two? How can I bring the bright, sparkly world? I always call it, I'm like, oh, it's so sparkly over here. How can I get this and deliver this to my law practice or deliver this to attorneys in a new way? So like those are the pieces that started to fall in place as I really started getting more intentional with myself too. And again, also with personal development, right? Like reading Mel Robbins' The 5 Second Rule, reading Rachel Hollis' Girl Wash Your Face, listening to Shaun T, he was like a Beachbody like trainer, and listening to their words and realizing, oh my gosh, like as they talked about living your best life and all of these things, like I kind of feel like the life I'm living is a lie. Like I am not aligned. And like hearing that like plugged in every day, whether it was my workout, was what I was reading, and just getting the sense of myself, I'm like, something's got to change.
So you felt the shift, right? You felt that shift. And then the breadcrumbs, I love that kind of analogy too, right? Because it's little by little, which I appreciate. I think sometimes we hear these stories and we're waiting for like that big, Serena calls it the sliding door moment, right? Like, and again, you had that, right, with the Tory Burch shoes and all that, but like, but then how do you then navigate like, okay, here's who I am. Here's not my new interest. Cause there's a lot of listeners who can relate to like, I'm not that person anymore, but that person is paying the bills. That, yeah, yeah. That person's routine is kind of,
Well, I didn't like crash and burn my old life, right? I wasn't like, I didn't like set fire to it and be like, I am walking away. You know, there's times I wished for things like that to happen. Like I wished to win the lottery. I wished that something would fall in my lap and make it easy. And I was hoping and hoping and hoping for that to happen. And then two different things. One, the girl wash your face quote, when she was like, no one's going to do your life for you. I remember exactly where I was when I heard it. So I was listening to it like on Audible as I was driving. And I was like, oh. And then I had a conversation with my friend Stephanie, and I was like, I just need to win the lottery. She's like, but do you? I'm like, oh. So, and I think those two inputs happened within like 6 months of each other. And then, so I just got to thinking. And at this time, like this health and wellness business was growing, right? So I was earning additional, like I was still full-time partner, making, money there, paying the bills, et cetera, feeding my family. But then the health and wellness income was growing too. I'm like, okay, well, if I can make money here with a company paying me, what could I maybe do on my own? Right. And like the wheels started like turning. So I got to a place where I was finally comfortable enough to leave my firm emotionally. I knew I could do it financially. I knew I could do it physically. I knew I would be a good solo. Right. And I went to be a solo attorney in 2018. Like I wasn't worried about making it work here, but I knew I needed the time and space to figure it out. So one of the reasons I left my firm for a lot of reasons. So one of the reasons I left is I knew I needed to give this other thing. I wasn't sure what it was yet. This other thing, time and attention. And I didn't want to hurt my partners by taking time away from the law to work on this new thing. But nor did I want to share it with anybody and be like, my partner's like, oh, well, this should be a part of our firm. Like, no, this is mine. This is mine. And then again, it's like slowly but surely, I didn't say no to law. I didn't like shut down my law practice. But what I did is slowly but surely, I started taking the dial on the law practice, which I was able to do as a solo, and turn it down, which was freaking terrifying, right? Because how I turned it down was when I had these litigation moments, also another big turning point in litigation moments. February of 2020, I had 3 huge trials. Usually family law attorneys, our cases settle and we have like 1 or 2 a year. I had 3 February of 2020. 3. And they were all really hard and really draining and really exhausting. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I was beyond burnt out. I was exhausted. I was snippy. I hated it. I couldn't sleep. I was terrified. Look at my emails. I look at my email, my blood pressure went from here to here. I'm like, and I was like, something's got to give. And I'm like, okay. So I still need to make money to feed my family. But I have to like start saying no to litigation cases, no to trial, and like turning up the dial on mediation, which I love. I still do. I'm still a family law mediator. I freaking love it. So I had to turn back that dial, which also meant 2020, I had the most financially best year ever. And I had to say it's okay that 2021 doesn't look as good as 2020. And that like hurt because it hurts your ego and like your cash flow looks different and you make less money and you can't do all the things that like Sure, we'll buy this. Sure, we'll buy that. Well, sure, we'll go on this vacation. It was like, no, we got to cut back. So 2021 cut back, and I felt it financially. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good on the money. But as time has gone on, and now we're in what, 2025, like I've gotten to a point, again, baby step, no more litigation, more mediation, more doing the work I like in my law practice. And slowly but surely, my coaching and consulting business is growing. And I'm at a place where my businesses go like this, right? So sometimes the law brings in 70% of the income, the coaching's 30, and sometimes it's the other way. But like I'm at a place like this now. And it's not pretty and it's not perfect and it's not like exact. I don't have time block scheduling where I coach in these hours and I lawyer in these hours. It's like this ever growing flow of stuff that works.
I'd like to go down a slightly different path here. So my daughter has just got her university place here in London to go and study law, politics and history and all of this other stuff. And I wonder whether there's just so much pressure on women to be so perfect and so powerful and so strong that the pressure is actually really heavy, especially looking at law for a career and moving up that ladder and stuff like that. What kind of advice would you, I mean, do you feel as a good thing? I don't know where I was going with that question. It was just something that's sitting on me today. So
it is hard. It is like the advice I would give is sort of twofold. And this is first, maybe if you have attorneys listening, have been practicing 10 years and they are itchy and they're like, well, I want to do what she's doing. Or they're like, well, why did I go to law school in the first place? Or why did I get my grad, whatever, in the first place? I should have done this other thing that seems so much cooler, right? Because there's a lot of, like, my coaching consulting job is really freaking cool. Like, I can't believe I get paid to do the work I do. And I love it. And I just can't even believe it.
But it's law. It's law. It's such a high status, high reputation career move.
And it is. And so that's like the thing I was going to say, like, I don't regret it at all anymore because that legal degree has helped me in the coaching place. I just had to pay my dues in the legal space, and I'm still paying my dues in the legal space. But because it's prestigious and because you have instant credibility when you walk into a room, it helps me in the second business. So I think my advice is, the law can provide so many cool things for you. It provides a different way to think, a different way to problem solve, a different way to make money. But you don't have to be stuck in it forever. And you don't have to get in this, was it like cattle car kind of thing? Or what am I trying to come up with? What's it called? When you're like, you're stuck. You don't have to follow it that way. You can create your own path. But for like the young people, like, do you have to pay your dues and work really freaking hard? Yes. There's not a shortcut. Like, you can have some self-care and me time and all those things. But you also need, if you want, like, you do need to work hard. Like, it is, and not just work hard for the sake of working hard, but I think the younger generation, like people in their like mid to late 20s are forgetting that they have this extra time to work really freaking hard, and they will learn faster. By working hard and doing more, you will learn faster to like faster accelerate to where you actually want to end up. So I guess an answer to your question, it is weighty. It is hard. I think we do put way too much pressure on ourselves, but that also comes when we get married and have kids. And then there's even more pressure on us. And like, that's another conversation that needs to be addressed as well.
That's a great answer. Honestly, this has been something that's been weighing on me for the last couple of days now. So you're a great guest to have this today.
Well, I think Wendy, I think you bring something up that's really refreshing too, is that when has there been a time where women haven't had pressure on them? Like, I don't know a time when it was like, hey, like, I would argue that as a woman, I would rather be alive in this very second than any other time in all of history, because there's access and there's opportunity. But yes, it's hard, right? With optionality comes hard, but also hard is also not having options, right? So it sounds like you have really, I love this message of, you have worked, you have learned, you have grown. And the most important part is you have evolved, because now you're doing consulting. Now, is your consulting primarily, and coaching, is it primarily in the legal field with law firms? And if so, what does that look like? And if it's not, what does the coaching, like who comes to you? What's the ideal profile of person? And what does Wendy Meadows offer them as a differentiator?
Love it. So it's like 3 buckets, but the bucket the bucket was my avatar, right? Which is burnt out lawyer moms. So that's who I started with, or at least that's who I was talking to in my marketing, right? Like the burnt out lawyer moms, because I know her, I am her, I've been her. So started there, and I still do that. And I say I have a pretty good referral in like the law mom Facebook pages. There's a lot of lawyer mom Facebook pages. So when someone's looking for a life coach, they find me and I coach them in that way. And then we work on work, family, health, and self. What I like about my coaching is I don't just look at work, and I don't just look at like mindfulness. We tackle all 4 quadrants every time. Now, because I help that professional, high achieving, type A, wants the A plus, burnt out woman, I also attract other people in similar fields. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a lawyer. It could be an accountant. It could be a realtor. It could be on a doctor. It doesn't really matter. It's like we're all cut. The cloth that we are cut from is typically we're married, we have kids, we're the breadwinner. We are working our butts off. We are creating business. We bring in more money to our family, and we're still doing most of the parenting, at least most of the emotional lift of the parenting. It's like that is the woman I help. Now that has evolved some, like I said, so like the lawyer moms, women in general. And I have men clients too. Like I have men who have hired me just because, we're a good fit, lawyers and not lawyers. And then all of that has evolved too to now me helping law firms. So I help law firms either in 2 ways. See, it just kind of keeps, again, I just keep following the breadcrumbs, and things that are aligned, I say yes, right? So people who want to open up their own solo practice, I get them their soup to nuts, beginning to end. I work with them to break up with their firm, and I work with them to set up their systems. And then I work with them their first month of billing, so they actually know how to make money, like how to put money into their pockets from their clients, right? And then the other thing I do over here too is when a law firm has like a struggling associate who they want to help, they're trying to help. Maybe the law firm can't afford, they don't have like an HR department, but they know this person needs some coaching to become the attorney they know that he or she can be. They'll hire me, I'll step in, and I'll get them back to billing the hours they're supposed to bill, maybe some mindset shifts, some confidence shifts, some time management help. And I do that work as well.
So it's very specialist then. It's not just coaching. It's very niche, which I think is such a, and who'd have thought that it was neat? I'm going to be really dumb here, but who'd have thought it was needed? In the way that we hear about lawyers and law firms, and they have such high regards that we don't think that they struggle.
Oh goodness. Like I constantly call myself, I'm the keeper of all the secrets, right? I'm the keeper of all the secrets. People confide things in me like left and right, like now, like throughout the country. And like, oh gosh, I think all people in general have so many issues and are so far behind and are so scattered, and no one is nobody I have met is on their A game 100%. Nobody. Like it's lies. It's smoke and mirrors. It's people just pretending one thing, but nobody.
I absolutely love that, because we look at other people. Maybe we shouldn't compare ourselves so much, but it's very easy to see other people especially the way society is set up with social media and stuff, and see everyone winning when you don't feel as though you are. It's very easy to fall into that trap of, oh God, it's me, I'm doing it wrong, I've got to sort this out.
Right.
So that's a great thing that you just shared.
I think Wendy has pointed out something that one of our last conversations we had, Serena, it was with an executive coach, and she had said like, no, these people got like the higher the career prestige, the more that's under, what did she say? The more that's under the hood.
Like that. Well, yeah.
Right. I kind of feel like Wendy's kind of alluding to that too, where it's like, hey, like these people are high achieving here, but usually in life we have to have some type of balance. So there's lack of balance somewhere else. And I'm sure, Wendy, that maybe that's where you come in, is that like, hey, we're doing great here, but we're like drowning over here. Help us out. And so it sounds like you come in, you really assess the situation. You can be niche, but you can also really expand that to just high achieving, high stress, all that good stuff. And then at some point, this fabulous book sparkle and grit, live live a technicolor life by finally finding balance, escaping monotony, and beating burnout comes to fruition. You are an author now. And if anyone's watching this as opposed to hearing this podcast, there is a bright pink colored book set right in the background of Wendy. She also has bright pink earrings on, bright pink nails. She is the lady that you're like, there's a power, but there's this femininity, this sparkle and grit. Tell us about the book. How does that come? Because we all kind of want to be authors in our head, or most of us do, right? But you are a bona fide author.
I'm a bona fide author. Yes. The real answer, how like it all happened, is it's so crazy. All right. And again, it's more like following the breadcrumbs, right? Following the breadcrumbs and anything that feels alive in your body, in your gut, like to say, okay, so how did I get there? Okay, I'll try and make this as succinct as I can. So again, in 2022, I think as the world was like opening again and kind of thinking, okay, what are my next steps? I became a life coach. I became a certified life coach in 2021, right? Yeah, I got the certification then. I'm like, okay, well, what else am I going to do with this? How am I going to expand? And I've been to all these legal conferences. I would love to go to a conference that's not legal, that's something cooler. Don't know what yet, but that was like percolating. Also, I was thinking, well, maybe I should start a podcast. I'm not starting a podcast yet, but I was like, maybe I should start a podcast. I don't know. Because I was trying to think of like the next thing. Then I was like, okay, I was on a walk outside. I'm like, I'm going to find a legal podcast to see what the legal podcasts are like, to see what they sound like. And can I do my own thing? I don't know. First legal podcast I found, I started listening to, it was Andrea Sager. I can't remember the name of the podcast. It'll come to me as I'm talking. It'll come to me. So then she was like, I can't remember what the podcast was about, like the topic. And she said, and by the way, I'm hosting a conference called Dream Bigger. It's in Arizona. It's, I think, in October. And you have to come and you have to get VIP. And I was listening to this and I was like, yes, I do. I have to go. I never listened to her podcast before. I knew nothing about her. I knew nothing about anything except for it sounded cool, Dream Bigger. It sounded like it would be legal-ish, but like the sparkly stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm going. So I came home. I Googled her. I found it. I registered for a VIP, like she told me to. You know, it's interesting when people tell you to do something, you do it. I told my husband, I'm going to Arizona. He's like, all right, you know. And I went. And the sad thing about the conference for her is like it was very poorly attended. Like there should have been 500 people there. I think there was 20, like 20 actual paying people. Everyone else was a speaker or a friend. And I mean that no shade on her. It's just like, you know, it's how things are happening. And because the conference itself was freaking incredible, like amazing speaker after speaker after speaker. Like everybody on that stage was made for me. And because I was VIP, I was second row, right? And I was like, I also had more, I got invited to other dinners and things because I signed up for VIP. So I actually got to like know the speakers as well. And again, it was like this whole event was made for me. And so one of the people there, his name is Jake Telfer, and he is the owner of Big Idea to Bestseller. He talked about how he was going to write and publish a book in 30 days. I'm like, well, that's crazy. I think that's what he said. But his book, he is high energy. If you think I have a lot of energy, he's like the male version of me times 10. And his business is helping people write their book and getting it published and using self-publishing / like his publishing house to get it out there and helping us achieve bestseller status and like helping us through the whole process. And I met him. I thought he was fantastic. And I was like, yep, that's the guy. Like, that's the guy I'm going to work with. 4 months later, I went to do a workshop with him in California. I got the idea for Sparkle and Grit. It's like, didn't know what book I wanted to write. I just knew I wanted to write a book. I met with him. I did the workshop. I'm like, yes, this is it. And by doing that, I met the most amazing developmental editor I will use the rest of my life. I met the most amazing editor I will use the rest of my life because she was fantastic. And I did it. So I hired him in February 2023. And I was done with my draft by June. Because it was in there. Like the whole book was inside of me. And I signed up every morning. I sat down on my computer to write. And it just, the words literally, they could not, like my fingers couldn't type fast enough. It was just like flowing out, flowing out, flowing out. And then Yeah, it was published September of 23, and the rest is history. And I'm working on a couple more now, because now like I know how to do it. I know who I will hire for the editing process, and I encourage people to do it.
And what is the book? What is it? Give us the high level, the two-liner, like this book is going to teach you X, Y, Z or help you overcome ABD.
This book will help you beat burnout and I encourage them to read the book again and again and again, because it's not like we beat burnout and it's over, right? Like we have to keep battling it. And I think it will just teach you that you're not alone, really. Everyone who reads my book in the first couple of chapters, they're like, do you have video cameras in my house? Because like it feels like you're there. So I think the number one thing is they don't feel like they're so alone. They don't feel like judging themselves anymore. And they learn like really easy, ascertainable ways to live a life that feels more authentic.
Check, check, check. Like that sounds like, sometimes people say things where, and I know that, you're just so bubbly and so who you are, but the way in which you just express that, it's like, who wouldn't want that? Like literally, who wouldn't want that? And it came across as so authentic and honest. And if it, is it in bookstores or is it just on Amazon? Is it
It's on Amazon mostly. I believe it's in some bookstores. It's kind of wild. I don't even know how it gets picked up by all this. Like you can buy it on all sorts of different platforms, including eBay. But like, I encourage you to go to Amazon. I encourage you to go to Amazon. But Amazon's like probably the easiest way to purchase it.
Right. I mentioned that again only because if you are in a bookstore and happen to see the bright pink cover, like what is? I'm going to take a gander. Is hot pink your favorite color, or is it just something that now has identified you versus like in the legal world maybe it was a little bit more subdued, or like where does the hot pink coming in?
Good. All three. You nailed it. Because number one is one of my favorite colors. Like I love hot pink, period. And number two, like as I became the lawyer that I felt comfortable being, I was like, why don't I wear the color? Like I don't have to wear black and red, or I don't have to wear black and white, and like let's be fun here. So like incorporating a little pink, a little pink, a little pink, and being bold. And it just feels more aligned. It's fun.
How do you feel like people react to you when like, and again, it's a color. It's not like you're showing up and you have like, tassels in your hair and you're doing cartwheel. It's a color, but when we first met before we started recording, like the first thing is I was like, hey ladies, wow, great freaking earrings, girl. Like,
I know. It's like people know, right? And it's funny when I show up to places, most of my wardrobe now that I buy too is like black, hot pink. Like it makes life easier. And then I'll show up like, oh, do you always wear pink? I'm like, yes. Like some people say that, but then other people, they will see me. They'll know they're seeing me, and on purpose they will wear pink. They're like, I wore this for you. I did pink. I did this for you, right? Or my friend Elena, she went to J. Crew factory store and bought the most beautiful pink coat. And she thought she was going to use it. She hated it. She's like, okay, I'm going to sell this to you. I'm like, amazing. Or like she'll be at any of the stores and she's like, this is hot pink. Do you want it? And she'll send me a text and I'm like, yes, please buy it for me. Right. But it all mostly positive, like super duper positive.
I have a friend in Boston who's the purple lady. Everything's purple. Like, and the thing is like, every single birthday I buy her something purple. It's one of those things too where I think we talk on this podcast about very high, big ideas and big emotions, and I just love the simplicity of like, you like it, you enjoy it, it represents something, people identify you with something that's bright and cheerful. Like, what an honor to be identified by something that's just fun, as opposed to like, oh, they identify me as the lawyer. That's good. But like a fun color, hey girl, this is on sale. Do you want it? I could already just see the girlhood behind that. I'm not sure men geek out over colors like we do.
Probably not to the same degree.
No, not the ones I know, at least. Maybe Serena knows a couple that are more, a bit more open.
Well, I definitely know a few guys that are way more sparkly. But
in the UK too, like they do such a better job with like the button downs, right? Like the fun colors. Like I remember that's been the case for years, right? Like much more fun colors over there.
You are right. You are absolutely right. It's like, Elton John invented all that, and us Americans are still just trying to figure out how to incorporate sparkle.
Elton John is not a typical Englishman. There's not that many of them. We have the eccentric crowd.
Fair enough.
Guys, so you just need to go to LA or New York. They're there.
That's true. That's true. West Hollywood. That's where you need to go in LA. Then you'll see sparkle and a little grit,
We just have that beautiful English campness around us. So, I mean, might as well live it.
Exactly. We'll embrace it. Now at this point in the podcast, Serena, I think that do you have our little secret question, our little surprise question for Miss Wendy? Because at this point we like to kind of playfully catch you off guard without too much of an aha moment. And we like to ask a question from a previous guest. Now, remember, our guests run the gamut of different jobs, careers, mentalities, and all that. So, what do we got for Miss Wendy for her question, Serena? What do we have from our previous guest?
This is a great question for Wendy, and how weird how this often happens. How the question from the previous guest who has no idea anything about you at all, and actually poses a question that's really interesting. So, for you in particular, Wendy, what do you do when you feel raw and vulnerable?
Oh, I'm going to give you a typical lawyer answer. It depends. It depends.
Walk us through it. Take your time. Some of these questions are very layered and not as easy as like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? So we get that there's time.
Well, first I'm going to walk you through what my body is feeling as you ask me that question, right? As I do think it's important for women, especially, to get really in tune with what goes on in ourselves so we can recognize it and then know how to deal with it, right? So you say it, and I'm trying to put my place into a self of raw and vulnerability, which has happened a lot in the last couple months. And I feel a little bit like suffocated, and I feel like a little bit like I can't breathe, and my stomach is kind of going like this, and almost like I feel like tears in the back of my eyeballs. And like I can't catch a breath. I cannot breathe a full freaking breath.
I'm actually going to add to this. This is exactly what me and Sarah said last week when we heard this question. And it was like, how is that? What emotion has that invoked in you? And
we felt naked the minute she said it. We felt naked. It wasn't even directed towards us, but I'm like, oh, that's too much. Oh, I don't want to ask that.
Yeah. So we can relate to this already. Right.
So my knee-jerk reaction, honestly, is to probably like have a bit of a hissy fit. Hopefully by myself. Hopefully where no one else is around. And I'm just like yelling at things and walking around my room and like yelling and da-da-da. And hopefully no one is home, or hopefully I'm in my apartment or my office by myself so no one can like hear anything. So that's, and this is being as honest as I can be, because like it's like that's my first initial like, ah! Or I might be annoyed with some, or if it's via text and someone texts me an annoying text, then I am opening my text and I'm like, like texting something back, voice to text, and it makes no sense. And then I'm like, if I'm in a good headspace, do I need to hit send on this? So I take a minute, and then usually it's like, okay, Wendy, how can you reset? What else is going on? So then I start talking to myself, right? Then I start, okay, well, what else is going on? Why is this hitting you so hard? And maybe it's a perfectly rational thing. And maybe it's something not. And like trying to get really curious about the situation. And then thinking, okay, what do I need to do to get this bad feeling to go away? Because I don't want to sit in this feeling. And or if I'm being true to like my therapist, right? Do I need to sit in this feeling because it's important for me to sit in this feeling? So I probably ask myself that, like, do I need to sit in this feeling? Do I need to be sad? Is it appropriate for me to be sad and be here? Or is it like, this is stupid. Like I need to get out of this. So then I probably ask myself that. Then I think a lot, right? Then I'm like, okay, when usually it ends in, and this is different than how it used to be. It ends in, you need to go to bed early tonight. You need no booze. Do not drink wine. Do not eat sugar. Do not watch TV. That's what I used to do. What I used to do was wine, sugar, TV to blunt the bad feeling, right? Yeah, right. I mean, I like the Trader Joe chocolate chip cookies. Ooh, now that Trader Joe makes everything, no, all the things cookies. Do you guys have tried Trader Joe's?
No, but I already could imagine what all the delicious things consist of.
Like chocolate, marshmallow, Rice Krispie. It's so good. Anyway, that's what I used to do, and then, but now it's like, no, and like half a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. Like, no, not anymore. No. So now it's like, go to bed early, wake up, get yourself to Orange Theory or yoga or run, because that's what's going to make you feel better. Like, it might be just like getting through the rest of the day, having your feelings, sitting in your feelings, and then like, how can I reset in the morning? And I always, always, always reset with decent sleep, and a workout. And then things get better because it completes, I mean, it completes the burnout cycle. I'm sure other guests have talked about burnout and like the escaping the lion and then getting to safety, like doing that workout and the breath that, we didn't have when we were scared completes the cycle and gets us to a better place.
I knew you were the perfect guest for this question.
Yeah. That was so good. We often hear, and it's no shade to anyone else, sometimes we hear the cookie cutter things like, I just take a walk, which I mean, walking is good. But it's kind of like that anticlimactic, like when you go to a therapist or you go to a doctor and you really present this raw feeling you're having, and they're like, just drink water. And you're like, okay. I feel like that's not a bad idea, but I also feel like I would like to evolve to be a human that just chugs water when I'm raw and vulnerable and then resets in 30 seconds. So the fact that you said the hissy fit, thank you, because I think that's really relatable, is that like we have to put that ball of energy somewhere. Ideally, it's not towards another person because that's not productive. Ideally, it's not self-harming, right? Which it doesn't sound like that's even in the realm. But there is such a thing, as my therapist like to say, as protesting. That is perfectly healthy to protest in a way where this doesn't feel good. And whether that's through tears, which release stress, or just screaming in your office, or just talking to the wall about how Susie Q is such a bitch. Like,
I use Susie Q all the time too. I use her all the time.
Poor Susie. I'm sure there's a Susie Q out there who's an angel. Um, but no, I really appreciate that, because I think, through hearing, and I'm curious, Serena, if you've got the same feeling, like we do ask a lot of women, what do you do? Not necessarily raw and vulnerable, because that's a little bit more intimate, if you will, but like, how do you deal with stress? And so many times I am left feeling like there's an incomplete answer. Like there's a reality that there's a wall that's not being crossed, where it's like, you know what I do? I fucking freak out in the beginning and then I take the walk. Or, I like you said, hey, I have a couple drinks. And again, I'm not condoning and saying that's the right way, but like, in order to share how we get better, tell us how you got better.
And sometimes you really have to have that effort moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really do. It's good for you to have those moments.
Because otherwise we're just like bottling even more. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the outlet of sleep, which I think is so big. And then the workout. And is the workout you said, now what I found very interesting is you mentioned two very different types of workouts. You mentioned yoga, which tends to be a bit more calm. It can be, I guess, if you're doing hot yoga, a bit more, but then you also mentioned Orange Theory, which I've only gone once, and it's like cardio, weightlifting.
I don't know what Orange Theory is, but I also have never found yoga to be that calming and not real yoga. I mean, there obviously is that style, the meditative style, but yoga's hard.
Yoga is hard. But I guess compared to Orange Theory, can you just explain what Orange Theory is?
Yeah. So Orange Theory essentially is a mix of treadmill, like sprints, like sometimes sprints, sometimes all out, sometimes just like running base.
So do you have high intensity training? Is it like that?
Yeah. It's like that. So you have to sign up for a class. Like it's not like the gym and you just go. Like there's certain classes, and then the coach leads you through the workouts. There's usually really good music. They tell you when to like increase your speed or your incline. And then like you go over to like the weights and you do like the weights in a certain way. And it's a really good workout. It's like really effective. It's really good. It's high intensity. It's loud. Like, and you feel amazing and you sweat a bunch. The same, I do hot yoga. I do hot yoga, and you do sweat a bunch, but it's also, I started like going in earnest in October of last year. So now we're October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Oh my gosh, like 10 months. So I have noticed, I know it's crazy, right? So I'm like a person now, like a real yogi, but like my calm has like, I have a new sense of calm since it. But again, like with all like the sweating and everything else, and it's a really good to stretch me out from Orange Theory because I haven't been injured. I haven't had to go to the chiropractor since January, which is, that tells you something, right? Like I've been working out intensely, but I haven't needed to get adjusted. I think the yoga is doing it. No, I honestly, I love all workouts. I've never done CrossFit, but they all make me happy in different ways. So, but those are the two that work best.
girl, get me in a hot yoga class. I used to do it, and let me tell you, it was great. It's one of those things that when done consistently, and I'm curious, like I slept better. I also just feel like you're so drained from the class. I'm like, I've sweat out every single, every single bit of hydration that I don't even have the energy to be raw and vulnerable and mad at it.
Or pissed off.
Right. You feel that way after like a workout or after whatever strenuous exercise. You're like, I can only devote this energy now to taking a shower and going to bed. Like I can't, but I think that's the whole point, right? Of like, you've kind of put that hissy fit into something productive, and then you wake up and you carry on. And so with the carrying on and with kind of knowing how you deal with raw and vulnerable, what does the future look like? Because naturally, that can be a very, what's next for Wendy? What's the next step? Are we writing volume 2 of the book?
All right. So real, raw, and vulnerable answer. So my husband and I decided we're getting divorced. And it's the first time I talked about it on a podcast because we
You need a family litigator.
No. That's fine. It's fine. And I've always wanted to write the book, or not always, but for this past several years, the book on my heart is to write Sparkle and Grit for the divorcing parent and approach it from a way of like personal development and breathing life into women and men, and from like a practical perspective and helping people choose what divorce process is the best for them, right? And giving them a really good education and like real talk. And it's funny, I started writing it like 2-3 years ago for fun, like just like not for, whatever. But I'm like, but I'm not divorced. I'm not divorced. Is that like a problem? I'm writing this book, not divorced. Not expecting this to be happening and not getting divorced for the purpose of writing the book, right? But I have this new going through it myself. And like, even we're at the very beginning stages, like we're separating next month and we'll start something called nesting. But it's really enlightening. Like I've always been on this side of the table to sort of think of it or to be on that side of the table, or just actually experience it and really try hard to listen to all the advice I've given clients for the last 20 years and apply it to myself and apply it to the situation. But I do see something coming out of this. I don't know what, but I do see it's going to increase my perspective in a new way. And I can't imagine that's not going to shape my coaching in the future. I can't imagine, all these things have happened for a purpose. And the good news, I will say, my husband and I are extremely amicable to the point where we've told most of our friends and we announced it to the rest of our friends. We're hosting a big party on Labor Day together at our house and saying, you don't have to switch, or we don't have to choose sides. Like, we are good. Like, our plan is to be good friends. When we meet our new significant others, all 4 of us will hang out and like be like a weird Brady Bunch situation. Like, that's what we both want. But we're trying real hard.
Life and business colliding to create your next steps, following your breadcrumbs.
It is. It's not a breadcrumb either of us expected, and it just sort of.
Well, none of us marry to not be married.
Right.
None of us start that journey, but it happens, and
it does.
And also, it sounds like from hearing how you've adapted and reinvented yourself so much. And again, we never like to reinvent ourselves through things that are not, one thing is a career change. The other is like a marital change. Those are really 2 different, levels of reinventing. And so obviously some reinvention is preferred over others. But I have to say, as someone who's heard your journey, now you're going through it, and like your authenticity at telling it like it is, but also that other part of your brain that is able to synthesize information and structure it out, that legal side, I think wherever it takes you, the gift is that there's a gift now of perspective, where, like you had said, like, and that's a tough gift in this situation, right? Who really wants that perspective of having the drop of the roller coaster? But if your story up to this point is any indicator of how grit will be handled, I have a feeling that not only will the book be a bestseller naturally, but the impact you will have and the satisfaction. Because one thing is having impact, the other is like, fuck, like I helped that person get through it. I just have a feeling from your essence and even how you're talking about kind of approaching it that, in a year or 2, when we check back in, well, maybe not 2, let's not wait that long. But, I'm really curious to see how Wendy 2.0 evolves.
Yeah, me too. You'd be a very good coach. This is very good coaching you're
No,
giving.
I do, because I think a lot of times too, like when these tough things happen, and again, I can't say this enough, like we're not honest about things being tough. This sucks. Well, we're navigating it the best we can. But the first thing is like the awareness that it's tough. So listening to it makes me feel like I want to be on Wendy's journey, and people listening, and I want to read the book because it's not everything's great. It's no, this kind of is sucky, but we're figuring it out. And I appreciate that message because honestly, like Serena said earlier, in a world of social media and sparkles, sometimes it's just shitty, but we're going to pour a little glitter on it and have a Labor Day party, and we're going to figure it out. And there might be tears and hissy fits, but that's why Orange Theory is there. I love it. I'm coming to Maryland to hang out on Labor Day with you, girl.
You should.
I know. I feel like you guys are going to have a great, what is it? Hot dogs and hamburgers on the menu? What do we do?
Well, it's better. We have a smoker, so we're going to do pulled pork tacos. I'm going to make a special slaw for the vegan people. We have a fun pool, a really fun pool. And the big drink in Maryland is orange crushes. Are you familiar with the orange crush? Oh, so it's with crunchy ice. You know crunchy ice?
Yep.
Like Chick-fil-A.
We have slushies. Yeah.
So, but it's not like that. It's more like little nugget ice.
Nugget ice.
So nugget ice. Oh, so good. And then it's like fresh squeezed oranges. We have one of those fancy juice makers that like the orange drops in.
Yes.
And then vodka, Sprite. It is the best summer drink. It is so good. So we'll have that too. So you should come.
I'm happily married, but I'm girl crushing. I'm just saying. In my next life, I might look up Wendy Meadows and say, hey girl, I just want to be your neighbor. That's all. I just want to drink the orange crush. That sounds delightful. And tell our listeners if they are equally as enamored with your personality, your optimism, your realistic authenticity. Where can people find you? Mention again the best place to get the book, to learn more about Wendy's journeys.
Amazon for the book, Sparkle and Grit. I have a journal too. I recommend buying that on my life coach website. On the Sparkle and Grit website, I lied, sparkleandgrit.com. But the best way to really to get a taste of what I have to offer for free, I believe on the sparkleandgrit.com one, you can register and get the Pause Time Playbook. And it's like a 7-day journal journey. That's kind of way to say journal journey. And you get an email from me every day. You get like some journal pages to journal in the way that I do every day. And I think that's a really neat way to get a week of coaching, asynchronously, right, for free. So I think that's a nice way. But then otherwise, Instagram.
The Pause Time Playbook. I just want to make sure it's called the Pause Time Playbook.
Correct.
Perfect.
Pause Time Playbook. And then Instagram, Wendy S. Meadows, LinkedIn. But that's where I hang out the most. I like doing a lot of Instagram stories. It's a fun place to.
So Wendy, we have one more question for you. We need a question for our next guest.
Yes, we do. We do need a question.
You go without our question. What would you like to ask our next guest? Make it a tough one. Go on, give him a hard time.
I know. So this is not a topic we broached on, but I bet you it's going to happen now to your next guest, right? So I'm going to give a precursor and then the question. So so many of us females live in our masculinity and our masculine energy. So in what ways, this is my question, yes. In what ways have you noticed you're leaning too much in your masculine energy has hurt you? And in what ways do you plan on, or can you lean into your feminine so you have some more balance there?
I love that. I have recorded that. I love that. I don't think we've ever had any type of question like that asked in masculine energy, feminine. It's just never been brought up really in a question. I think that's a great.
I'm glad I was. I wouldn't know how to answer it.
Every now and then we do have a guest, you remember Brianna, Serena, our guest Brianna, where we asked her this very raw, vulnerable question. And Brianna is a dear friend of mine to begin with. And she's a travel agent. And she was just oh, this is too deep. She was this is too deep. That was her. She was no, next. Is there a different question? And so I appreciate this question because it's not the raw and vulnerable question. That was deep and you answered it perfectly. But this is more of just like, yeah, feminine, masculine, all of us kind of deal with it to a degree. There's thinking without getting too naked in our feelings. So I don't know if the next person is they own a construction company, they won't feel like, shit, who are these ladies?
We haven't had a construction energy. We haven't had that yet.
Always to be seen, though. And so, for all of our listeners, as always, we will have Wendy's information, where to find her, Instagram. She had mentioned, sparklandgrit.com, pause time playbooks that you can download. All of that will be on our website, Fearless and Flawed. So that way, if you miss something, just go to the website and you can connect to Wendy directly. And so, Wendy, this has been absolutely wonderful. You have literally fulfilled the title of being fearless and flawed. And I say that with all that sparkle and grit. So thank you. And, we just can't wait to see, we will follow up with you in emails and just conversation to see where the journey takes you. But thank you for sharing your journey up to this point, and we will be in touch.
Awesome. Sounds great.